Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, government considering a full 2-week lockdown of Bimini, the latest from the Ministry of Health. Some Abaco evacuees having a hard time finding shelter after their motel stay comes to an end. Plus, a church to try a drive-in service.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joachim. Topping news tonight, government is seriously considering a full 2-week lockdown on Bimini, which is considered a COVID-19 hotspot. The tiny island has 11 confirmed cases of coronavirus and was the home of the first person to die in the Bahamas from the virus. Dr. Merceline Dalregis said nearly 80 people have been tested on Bimini.
We have heard the recommendation from you and the public to quarantine Bimini for 2 weeks to slow the spread of COVID-19. I wish to inform you that this has been given serious consideration at this time.
There have been 92 confirmed cases of coronavirus. 31 people have recovered. Deaths remain at 11. This was the first press conference held by the Ministry of Health since Dr. Dwayne Sands resigned amid controversy over the decision to allow 6 permanent residents to disembark while the borders remain closed. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has assumed the health portfolio but was not present at today's news conference.
We would have been advised that we do have a temporary minister, which is the Honorable Prime Minister. I am not in a position to say where he is, but certainly we did not have a delay in having a minister assigned to the Ministry of Health. We are continuing to move forward with our response.
190 Bahamians are expected to return home tomorrow during phase 1 of a strategy by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to bring back Bahamians who are stuck abroad. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Delon Brennan explained how the determination will be made as to who quarantines at home or at a government facility.
So the facility that we have identified at present is one that was put together, designed for the number of people we know that are coming in right now. So when it's sort of a chicken and egg situation, if we know how many people are coming in, we then find a suitable location of that size. However, if we were to find out that we needed more, there were going to be more people who were coming, we would find another facility of a larger size. So it's really just formed to fit what our function is going to be.
Now, there is a concern about those who are in quarantine at home. According to consultant Dr. Merceline Dalregis, 12 of the 250 people can't be located. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan explained how this happened.
I would think you would recognize that at times those addresses may not be exact, those phone contacts may not be listed, and I think you would have also heard Dr. Dalregis speak to us moving forward with acquiring software that will assist us in our contact tracing efforts.
Well, 3 Abaco evacuees will have to find new accommodations after their 90-day stay at a local motel came to an end. As Jared Hakes tells us, a woman staying at the shelter with her daughters is left uncertain and confused.
And I was fearful, but it took me a while to get on my feet, and now that I'm here, I want to move forward for my children.
37-year-old Ava Clark was emotional as she thought about her family's uncertain future.
After the hurricane, I held on to that pain so long.
The mother of 2 teenage daughters has bounced from shelter to shelter since Hurricane Dorian devastated Abaco. Her job and future plans in ruins.
I was doing security, and I was training to be a captain.
The family of 3 evacuated to Nassau after the storm and spent nearly 6 months at the Kendall Isaacs gym. In mid-February, social services put them up at Poinciana Inn on Bernard Road. But the 90-day stay comes to an end on May 15th, and Clark says she got a reminder from the Ministry of Social Services and the motel.
Next Friday is right there.
The letter advises Clark that she has an obligation to find her own accommodations, and she should speak to the shelter manager if she needs help. It also comes in the middle of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Joblessness is so widespread that government implemented a controversial rental assistance plan that allows tenants to pay 60% of their rent now and the rest later. Despite the bad timing, Clark says she holds no ill will.
I view it as them living up to what we was obligated to, but even though it's a pandemic, I thought it would have been, overlooked, but I don't want to get comfortable there. I want to be independent.
Clark says she was able to work at a department store during the Christmas, but that's it. She says she's trying to take online classes to better herself. When we met her, she's preparing to go apartment hunting. It isn't her first time searching, but with the little money she has, she's concerned about her children's safety.
I was skeptical about the areas because I have children, and when I got to go to work and they there, I don't know. I don't want to come home and,
Clark says neither government aid nor going on her own bring her peace of mind. Relying on aid means lacking independence, while independence could mean months without a job. And with two daughters looking up to her, she's worried.
I don't want to be dependent on people. I can stand on my own feet. I've been doing it so long, and I want to continue doing it for my children.
The proud mother says it would take all of her savings to rent an apartment in the cheapest neighborhood. She says without a job, she's anxious about the future. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
As many Bahamians struggle to make ends meet, one mother of 7 who lives in a partially burned shack on Marshall Road says she has to do whatever she can to make a quick buck, including selling mangoes on the side of the road. Jasmine Brown has her story.
Stubbs says her story has been a difficult one, and in recent months it's even got harder as a fire nearly destroyed her home. It may not look like much, but this one-room wooden structure is all 57-year-old Delarice Williams Stubbs has, and she nearly lost it all after a fire last September. The wooden structure has a blackened ceiling, cardboard floors, and sheets covering the windows and doors. The home has no electricity or running water. Her tattered and worn belongings are strewn throughout the house, including this mattress she salvaged from someone else's trash pile.
Okay. See the roof ain't burning bad. Okay. So it's burning bad. The roof, it don't leak though. I find a mattress and the garbage and the random garbage and the cardboard on the floor.
Born and raised in the Fox Hill community, Stubbs says she moved to the Marshall Road area more than 20 years ago and has survived by panhandling and doing odd jobs. The mom of 7 says she has also received help from Teen Challenge Bahamas and family members. But she admits with lives of their own, there is only so much her family can do.
So I do all job, mere job, make survive, live for the table, go so safe like that. Something I have no job. I got begging.
But with COVID-19, all that has changed, not only because people are primarily confined to their homes, but also because they have less disposable cash to give out. To make money, she has resorted to setting up a makeshift roadside stall in front of her home where she sells mangoes. While she is surviving physically, a teary-eyed Stubbs says there is an emotional toll that is sometimes overwhelming because of the way she is treated by others.
I crash, so I just leave a mess from my side. Like come in here, I go street, I can't I survive, my water, I pay my skin, they give me clothes, I survive.
Stubbs says it's that drive to survive and the thought of her grandkids that keeps her going. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, as businesses slowly reopen amid the coronavirus pandemic, one manufacturer has called in staff members who were temporarily laid off. At Cartwright's Bedding off Gladstone Road, mattress manufacturing is in full swing. After having to lay off staff following its closure 6 weeks ago, 3 of whom are hearing impaired, Cartwright's is back to pumping out about 100 mattresses per day.
There was about 6 weeks of where people could not purchase mattresses. So when it finally opened up, it was very crowded. And we're still only allowed to sell to the public. Well, they can only come in 2 days a week to purchase. So it's very busy.
The company's president, Jonathan Cartwright, says even while they're back to production, there is the expectation that a decline is imminent as tough times are ahead, and people will have to choose between what's needed right now and what can wait.
We had a backlog because people wanted mattresses for 6 weeks, but they couldn't purchase them. So now we're trying to catch up now. But I expect it to fall off in a few weeks after they've caught up and the economy continues to decline.
And with the import of masks prohibited, Cartwright applauds the move, calling it an upside for Bahamian manufacturing companies.
Right now, she's in the beginning processes of making a mask. It's about 3 or 4 steps that goes into it.
One company that has kept working during the crisis, Caribbean Bottling, distributing water and other essentials like waterless hand wash.
It's not alcohol-based because unfortunately there's kind of a global alcohol shortage at the moment, but it is effective in killing 99% of germs, and so we produce this for our team members, and we also gave some to some companies that were in need. So Cartwright's Bedding, we gave a few to Bahamas Waste, Purity Bakery, and then we also sent some to one of the Family Islands that had expressed a need for hand sanitizer.
Brand manager Carlos Garris, who's also the vice president of the Bahamas Light Industries Development Council, says some in the local manufacturing industry have taken a hit, but have kept up with production.
Bahamian manufacturers made sure that we had supply throughout this entire experience. So, making sure that the shelves had bread, had beverages, and also, the print shops have been operating. So I'm sure people have seen the signs on the street, keep distance, wash hands. Those were produced locally. And so if we didn't have local manufacturers, then, we wouldn't have been able to respond as a country in the way that we have been.
Still to come, a look at PMH's modular units, plus a local church hosting a drive-in service. Stay tuned. You're watching Our News. Welcome back. A key component of caring for coronavirus patients is Princess Margaret Hospital's modular units, which ensure patient isolation. Tonight, Jerome Sawyer takes a closer look.
This story was brought to you by Sun Oil Limited, fueling growth for people.
The modular units have been outfitted for absolute patient isolation. Patients ranging from moderate to severe COVID symptoms are transported here and placed in one of the negative pressure rooms. EMS teams covered in protective equipment will transport the case for the initial assessment. Once the patient is in the isolation room, the donning process begins. In a buddy system, nurses put on the personal protective equipment in a separate room.
We have on the wall the process for putting on the personal protective equipment. And as Hannah is ensuring that the correct steps are being taken. Once she is satisfied, then the nurse will proceed into the room to go and see the patient.
The patient, now in isolation, has to be assessed, which could take up to 2 hours.
You would see that Nurse Sands, she is gowned up in her personal protective equipment, and she will begin the initial assessment, general assessment of the patient.
And once the assessment is done, the nurses go into what's called the doffing area and begin to carefully remove the protective gear.
So this is the doffing process, where she is taking off her personal protective equipment, and we're going systematically, and she has a buddy with her to ensure that there's no contamination.
Everything is then discarded as medical waste. Scrubs are sent to wash, and they head to showers provided. It's laborious, but has kept every person in this unit COVID-free up to now. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
A disabled single mother of 2 is pleading with the public for assistance. She says it's tough trying to provide for her children during a pandemic. Jillian Gray reports.
Single mother of 2, Atara Cunningham, said even before COVID-19, she had a hard time making ends meet. Despite her many challenges, she said she is grateful for at least the little help that she gets.
It isn't easy because they're home eating and, you don't have that much, especially for me, because their daddy is in jail, and so it's only me one taking care of them. So basically, at the end of the day, it's very hard, but people like this is helping us, so we're blessed.
We met Cunningham waiting in a long line outside the Bahamas Feeding Network. The young mother hitched a ride from Golden Gates to the grocery distribution center in Fox Hill, hoping to secure food for her children.
You have to do what you have to do to get food for your children. You can't tell them no. You have to do what you have to do.
Cunningham has a daughter and a disabled son who depend on her for everything. She herself is reliant on the help of others to get around, as a domestic dispute left her confined to a wheelchair.
My leg has been amputated for 2 years, and my toes has been amputated on this foot for like 3 years. God has still been good to me. I have someone that helps me. This is my friend. He helps me through everything that basically what I really need. But he is on 3 days, so he can't really do much with us right now. So we got to do what we have to do.
The young mother said while she gets help from family, they can only do so much, and it's truly God's grace that is getting her through these tough times. She's currently looking for an apartment, but what little she gets in disabled benefits, she said, is not enough.
It's nothing much to talk about because I may get like $300, and I still have other bills that I have to pay. So we're actually looking for a place to live right now because it isn't conducive where we are. Because we asked for rental assistance for the government. They keep on telling me they don't have anything available as yet. So we're just waiting patiently for them.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, the church is finding creative ways to worship, including a drive-in service tomorrow night. However, the Christian Council president said he was shocked that liquor stores were allowed to open before churches. Giorgio Bain reports.
Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernandez stating that church leaders were shocked by the opening of liquor stores this week for several reasons. According to Fernandez, with an impending meeting with the Prime Minister, church leaders will now have to get more creative on how they physically bring the church to the people.
Initially, in sitting and planning, because the church is a part of the task force, we made mention that people being inebriated and having liquor and lockdown in a 24-hour lockdown, which is the weekend, it could be a bad combination for abuse, incest and the like, and just people keeping the curfew, period. That was agreed to, it was understood. So it was very shocking to us to see in 1B that the liquor stores were open, but we also saw what was being expressed in the papers the week before. So maybe the pressure was overwhelming.
On Monday, there were long lines outside liquor stores, which had been closed for weeks. Fernandez stands by the church's recommendation that liquor stores should not be allowed to operate as long as weekend lockdowns continue.
I do know from what I see in the papers by the reporting that there have been some incest cases that have come before the courts during this period. I don't know if they're old cases or they're cases that are taking place during the lockdown, but we take note of what is coming before the courts during this time of curfew.
Meanwhile, churches remain closed, conducting virtual services for members to watch safely at home. Fernandez said considering churches are scheduled to resume service under Phase 2 of the government's plan, they decided to get creative, which led to the idea of a drive-in church service. Fernandez Church, New Destiny Baptist Cathedral, will host a drive-in service tomorrow to celebrate the church's 18th anniversary and Mother's Day.
In the Baptist field, where I worship in the Baptist auditorium, we have a foyer that allows me to set up sound and have microphone, and the 10 persons that usually do my streaming will be there to do music and the like, and we're inviting Bishop Lawrence Roll to provide, and persons will drive up and not come out of their cars. They can wear their mask in their cars, and they will hear a service like the old-time street meeting. It is an effort for us to comply with the order, to be creative in worship.
The drive-in service may be the format of the National Prayer Day ahead of the beginning of the hurricane season, according to Fernandez. For our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
All right, thanks, Giorgio. Still to come, a local business calls for its shipment of personal protective equipment to be cleared. Stay tuned. A local business claims it is having a hard time accessing personal protective equipment it ordered. ODAV & Company General Manager Eduardo Colley says for 6 weeks his company has been providing healthcare workers with PPEs. However, he says a shipment including hand sanitizer, KN95 masks, 3-ply surgical masks, gloves, surgical gowns, and face shields has been held up at the Customs Department.
on April 3rd, we would have made a significant order of PPEs to further provide to the public. While attempting to clear one of our shipments, it was communicated by the Bahamas Customs that there is a requirement, authorization from the Office of the Prime Minister. To our knowledge, there are no restrictions, laws, or amendments to the Emergency Power Acts, which restricts the import of personal protective equipment.
Cawley said his company has been seeking clarity on this matter from several government agencies, but has not received a response.
Meanwhile, as we are being restricted and ignored, there are other persons importing PPEs with no restrictions.
When contacted for comment, Senior Customs Officer Crankston Evans said he wasn't aware of this specific matter. However, he did say this.
There was a circular that came out on specific types of masks that were restricted and those that were prohibited. On the public side of the Prime Minister, I think they would have a copy of those that were restricted and prohibited. If it was something that was restricted, then they would need an approval to bring a restricted item.
Despite the government's rental assistance initiative, which prohibits landlords from evicting tenants impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, Phone President Candy Gibson says some tenants have been forced to reach out for help after being given notice to move out. Gibson says her organization has been overwhelmed with pleas from single parents who are in need of assistance. However, she says they need the public's help with improving their shelter, as well as finding more places for people in need.
We already had persons who would have already been behind with their landlord. COVID-19 made it worse. Then we have some who only became behind with their landlord because of COVID-19. So we're asking persons, like the other day, I put up a post on Facebook stating that Foam have a shelter and we can accommodate 2 other single families, but we need assistance with repairs. And one lady came right under the post and said, Miss Gibson, if you're gonna, like, she's more or less said, well, if we can help get it repaired, she needs someplace for her children to go.
Since 2017, Foam has housed over 80 people. Gibson says the coronavirus pandemic has led to desperate times for many families. She says any form of assistance would be appreciated, whether it's building supplies or a facility to house families.
The bathroom needs to be repaired. We have the front window and we need screen, we need a door. The cupboards are now hanging. If we could get the front part off and the back part.
Still to come, Teen Challenge handing out food vouchers to residents in need. Stay tuned. Finally, in news tonight, in recent weeks, Teen Challenge has distributed nearly $10,000 worth of food vouchers that were donated to the nonprofit. Executive Director Eric Fox says they're happy to help in any way they can.
They were giving me over close to at least $10,000 to $8,000 worth of vouchers just to find persons who are hurting, who are in need. Partially, that's most people right now.
Fox says there is also a need for critical supplies.
These persons down here, they need masks, they need hand sanitizer, they need some stuff because the thing about it is this, right? They might live here, but they go out in the community. And so they're not sanitized properly, they don't have the necessary gear. We don't know what they can get, we don't know what they can bring, so it's important. They can't help themselves. Look at this mask I got, and this mask costs $5. These persons ain't gonna take $5 and go buy no mask. You give them $5, they can even go buy something for their children, some water to drink.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the RevGo Play app. Stay tuned for a brand new episode of On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer.